God bless you. We are in Nehemiah 1, 2, and 3 this morning in my daily Bible reading. Nehemiah is more from the civic, godly leader's perspective or viewpoint, whereas Ezra, which is his contemporary, was from a priestly or pastoral type viewpoint. Nehemiah was born in Babylon during the exile. He was a Jew, and he was a cupbearer for King Artaxerxes. Remember, the kings went Cyrus, Darius, Xerxes, and Artaxerxes in that order. Nehemiah gets a visit from his brother from Judah, and Nehemiah said, "Hey, how are things going?" And he says, "Not good, not good. The city's in ruins." Nehemiah, his heart was broken. He wept. He came to the Lord with a prayer. Much like the model prayer that Jesus gave, the Lord's Prayer, which it had praise in it, thanksgiving, redemption, or a time of confession. Here's what we've done wrong, and a request, his specific request, and a commitment to follow through and do the good things that he's been called to. He appears sad before King Artaxerxes, who, again, he's King Artaxerxes' cupbearer, and King Artaxerxes says, "Hey, what's wrong? You don't look sick, but you look troubled." And in verse 3, he says, "How can I be sad when the city of my people lies in destruction?" And then verse 4, Artaxerxes, because of Jeremiah's prayer in chapter 1, looking for the king's honor, in verse 3 in chapter 2, King Artaxerxes says, "Hey, how can some people in 445 BC, 70 years since Zerubbabel led 50,000 people of the exiles back to Jerusalem. He is sent with a letter from King Artaxerxes for resources along the way and safety of travel. Sends the letter and tells what's going to happen to the governors of the province west of the Euphrates. And remember, 10 years prior, they had been called to help Ezra rebuild the temple, and that has quickly faded because they're not Jews, so the hatred quickly returns. They're displeased in Nehemiah being here to rebuild the walls. He goes out in the night, he inspects the damage, he goes to the leaders the next day, verse 17 of chapter 2, "Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and in the disgrace." And in 18 they replied, "Yes, we will rebuild the wall." Verse 20 says, "The God of heaven will help us." It is a great place to listen to someone read you God's word. So listen on one of those audio Bibles. Pull up Google images of Jeremiah 3. You can see a counterclockwise tour of the wall of the Jerusalem, and you can see those images. You can see where, like, the dung gate is in the south, and that's where they had the garbage let out. The fish gate is where the fishermen came in from the west, from the Mediterranean. The sheep gate is where they brought in sheep for sacrifices and such as that. You can get a better mental picture while reading this and looking at it. For rebuilding the wall were for a protection and vulnerability. Can you imagine the town that you live in being without modern day electricity or without a police force or both? This is what it was like in 445 BC to live in a town without it surrounded by everyone chipped in. You see those family names that everyone chipped in your own area. So they had a personal responsibility and a personal pride in rebuilding their temple and the gates the appropriate way. Again, this is just a small synopsis. I encourage you to be in God's Word. Read Proverbs 23 today, or pick up something in the Gospels. Read along this with Nehemiah with me. God bless you. Like and subscribe if this is a blessing to you.